my pleasure to introduce Harold Terry Lindahl to the transdisciplinarity community. Terry is the president of the Entropy Equals Entropy Institute in San Francisco. He is an artist and architect inspired by the laws of sacred geometry and organic architecture. Along with many built projects, he has, over the years, pursued parallel interests in the laws of thermodynamics, where the conflation of empirical research culminating with the revelations of Einsteinian physics, Darwinian biology, and the contemporaneous revelations of Gnostic research coalesce into an authentic and unique 21st century vision. That is, namely, his bringing together the revelations of the past 100 years, where Einsteinian relativity, Darwinian evolution, relative to a humanistic valuation of the human instinct of religion, can be understood as a natural phenomenon. Lindahl is the author of The Harmonics of Unity, an endogenous semiotics of the Vegas pineal gyre, which was published in 2017. And we are very pleased to be able to offer a Spanish and Portuguese translation of this book, either by request or through the Congress website, thanks to C-Trans Brazil. I'd like to just say a few words about how our institute got started. We are located in San Francisco on Potrero Hill, which is on the south side of Market. And formerly, as you see, it was a movie theater, and it has been transformed to the building that you see on the right through Terry's ingenious architectural experience and a group of non-professionals. It is now housing an exhibition of art, which is open to the public to come and visit. These are watercolor studies, sculptural, so Terry, if Ivan is ready to work with you. Terry, you need to unmute yourself.
We're ready for a liftoff. Is that right? Okay. So we've heard the aims, and I'm going to be talking about what we call the Post-Simian Pre-Homo sapiens Conundrum. That is to say, the conundrum that we must solve before we can actually realize these dreams. The situation is, in the study of humanology, that humans are three-brained. We have a reptile in us, and we have a mammal in us, and we have this whirligig on top called the intellect, the human intellect. These three information processors have to begin to be able to speak to each other and influence each other in our decision-making processes, so that one brain goes one way, the other, another, the other. And not much can, I mean, life goes on and everything will continue to solve itself the best it can. But it seems like we're at a turning point here. And that was sort of addressed by this difference between formal and post-formal education and so forth. So we'll begin by addressing this Post-Simian, Pre-Homo sapien conundrum. And these are graphic representations of the difference in terms of the information processor of the Post-Simian to the information processor of the Pre-Homo sapien. So we begin by establishing what seems to be the actual conditions of our situation by locating ourselves in the universe. And so we have a series of what we call three-world diagrams that lays out the different ways we've looked at ourselves and brings us up to date to address this Darwinian, Gurdjieffian, Einsteinian conflation. So let's begin with looking at the situation, humanology, explicating the pivotal place and purpose of humanity. So we address the universe. It is working. The universe is working. The galaxies and stars, the biosphere works. Magma, earth, and sky working. And here in the breach, the onus of existence, the on us of pre-Homo sapiens. The on us. In a time-charged issue, the ergodic dynamics of particulate intercourse, ordered by the first law of the experience of existence, amassed galaxies, suns, and planets. And on particular planets, the second law of the experience of existence, ordering the biological processes of feeding and breeding, are refining mass into the vibration rates of caring and thought. The on us, ordered by the third law of the experience of existence, completion processes are asymptotically refining care and thought into vibration rates that mitigate the pressure of time on charge. Impartial conscience and objective reason. So the three-world diagram has a basis in philosophy. This diagram on the screen is Roger Penrose, but it's been commented on by Karl Popper, and Charles Peirce did a good deal of discovery on this, of a three-world situation. So Penrose had the Platonic mathematical world, which involved to become the physical world, which evolved to become the mental world. And he has the arrow going back to the Platonic world, which means that there's a completed circuit, an ergodic circuit completing itself. But we disagree with him on the direction of the third arrow. So we call this the thermodynamic properties of this ergodic armature. Some charge, unknown, just charge, creates a vibrational world, and through transformation processes, the firm phenomena of mass and energy create the stars and planets, and on the planets, the biosphere. And on the biospheres, there's a transmutation process that brings the reversal of mass energy to energy mass, of fine phenomena such as thought. And that transpiration then to vibrational world is a digestion, a reverse process of the digestion of the cycles that came around to make this energy mass situation, a fine phenomena, as a digestive process of everything that took place to release the energy that the sun has mortgaged to the world, our world, as a transpiration of our experience of fine energy to back to the solar system. So we continue with the series of diagrams here to show the various ways that this works. So charge, the transformation of coarse mass from fine energy to minerals, is gravity bound. The transmutation of thought from minerals is bound by reproductive processes. And the transition from intention to charge, we call the transpiration of conscience from refined thought, is intention bound, that it requires the intention of humanity, the third brain, neocortical property that makes humans occupy a very special place in the solar system. So there's the diagram, and we have the involutionary processes, evolutionary process, and cyvolutionary processes. So cognon clouds and galaxies, star systems and sun. Then evolutionary, plantae, animalia, human, and evolutionary processes, entropic transpiration of fine-grained rates of vibration. This is the methodology of the ergodic armature. The energy of mass is conserved in planetary processes of maximum entropy. The evolutionary processes, the what, is to refine the information from phenomena to produce entropy. Entropy is the offset of life itself, of eating, of taking in energy from the outer world, and through intelligence works to offset the descent into deeper entropy. So that process, the process of why it's to return the energy of charge through the digestion of information. So academically, we have physics studying the involution, biology that studies evolution, and religion studies what we're calling psyvolution. That is the evolution of our psychic properties. So these are the elements. Cogno, we say, is the medium through which photons can travel at the rate of speed. And magno, electro, chemo, thermo properties produce the biology, which derives the instincts, the archaea, the protista, fungi, plantae, animalia, and the psyvolutionary, which produces the intuition, thought, morals, imagination, conscience, reason. So the layout here gives us a sense of how it is we exist in all of this. So coming to the emblematic revelations. Now, around the turn of the century, 20th century, Darwinian research had produced the idea of the evolution of species. And shortly thereafter, Einsteinian research produced the theory of relativity. And at the same contemporaneously, Gurdjieff was developing the intention-bound processes of impartial conscience and objective reason, which are the processes that can bring together all of these very intricate processes. So let's dive into the actual situation of this address of the Post-Simian Pre-Homo sapiens Conundrum. I need the text.
Yeah.
Here we go. Humanology, an apodictic premise for extending our humanities program to include a college of self-knowledge. Now, this is presenting some ideas that need some special words. So we have a small glossary. Self-knowledge, the experience of normalizing our innate reptile, mammal, hominid sensibilities. Cogno, the semiotic medium binding the normalization of phenomena, consciousness. Post-Simian Pre-Homo sapiens, the present stage of biological speciation. Psyvolution, the intentional evolution of psychic properties. Natural religion, the refinement and transpiration of the energy conserved in humanity. Entropy, evolutionary force of experience normalizing the entropy of existence. Infomass, material consisting of the normalized interactions of energy and mass. So with those concepts, we could address the place and purpose of humanity. Solar energy, mortgage to planetary batteries, charge a global biological membrane, enzymatically refining minerals, atmosphere, and light to the vibratory vivification of sentience, air, and unique to humans, thought. Barely balanced, with one foot on bacteria and the other in the Library of Congress, we invoke the turn of the 20th century convergence of Gnostic and empirical information processing, stemming from the initial experience of the intercourse of energy and mass, millennia upon millennia of the interplay between more heart than head Gnosticism and more head than heart empiricism, reached a far from equilibrium paradigm criticality as these lines of information processing auto-instinctively converge to unconceal the concordance of relativity, evolution, and the human instinct of religion. Through this convergence of Gnostic empirical information processing from pre-Renaissance Post-Simian to post-Enlightenment pre-Homo sapiens, we address the experience of ourselves as biped, three-brained, biological apparatuses, refining and transpiring our mortgage payments. What I just lost. All right. We have a little problem with my inexperience with clickers and so on. So we are paying back, paying our mortgage to the solar processes. So the pre-Homo sapiens inversion of post-Simian thought. Addressing the post-Simian pre-Homo sapiens conundrum, recall Boltzmann. The biosphere normalizes the temperature differential between the sun and outer space. And Margulis, as prokaryote discovered oxygen and cannibalized prokaryote, indigestible infomass coalesced. Indigestible. What was energy that was generated from the digestive process, infomass, coalesced to form the nucleus of the species eukaryote. Such speciation processes brought fungi, plants, and animals to the present process of the pre-Homo sapiens cannibalization of post-Simian infomass. The coalescence of the indigestible truths of our Aristotelian disciplines formed the nucleus for the evolution of Homo sapiens from pre-Homo sapiens. Include then Gurdjieff, The human organism is a three-storied chemical factory with the potential for a large output. And we add output for the counter-evolutionary process of Scivolution, or religion. These recognitions place humanity as the on-point process working out nature's ergodic program. The beleaguered process by which the coalescence of bacteria produced the Library of Congress has brought us through the Renaissance and the Enlightenment to the completion dynamics of the modern era. Emblematically, the coalescence of the infomass of Thales, Socrates, Lucretius, Jesus, Galileo, Newton, Kant, Curie, Meitner, Darwin, Einstein, Chardin, Schrödinger, Whitehead, has unconcealed the dynamical organs of the natural religion. The biosphere is the religious organ of the solar system, and humanity is the religious organ of the biosphere. 'Neath the systematic violence of the garden of civilization, the destruction of trees for homes or for machines, and the destruction of brains for computers, flows the biological violence of the enzymatic destruction of minerals and atmosphere for energy. That is, we eat and breathe. Humans come and go, saying, "My life," and life is precious, while the experience of the enzymatic refinement of energy from mass by the organ of the biosphere and the organ of humanity is being transpired to the normalization dynamics of solar realms. Post-Simians, processing the information conserved in the phenomenon of minerals, atmosphere, and light, refine energy to the vibration rates of care refine energy to the vibration rates of care and thought. Pre-Homo sapiens, augmented by educational programs, refine the information conserved in the phenomena of care and thought to innervate the evolution of Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens, through the Scivolutionary education of the triune tier of their moving, motive, mental brains, will, in agreement with natural process, yield the highly refined properties of impartial conscience from care and of objective reason from thought. From a pagan circle dance to a pagan cyclotron, the processes of relativity, know the world, evolution, know thyself, and Scivolution, self-evolve, are modern iterations reifying the common intuitions of pre-common era information processing. Know thyself. The kingdom is within. Separate the subtle from the gross. Know thyself. This obscure summons stems from the biological instinct of human aspiration, an endogenous force of evolution It has little to do with knowing your likes and dislikes. The post-Simian tendency is to know about ourselves as objects with a name, rather than to know from the processes of our reptilian, mammalian, human selves. The religious instinct to learn more and be better, that is, to refine information, involves the evolution of the disparate complexity of our moving, motive, mental information processors relative to the properties of our appetites, ambitions, and aspirations, which we experience through sensation, emotion, and thought. The pre-Homo sapiens' summons to self-knowledge involves the intentional conservation, and through the process of self-knowledge, the intentional refinement of the energy spent on the tilt-to-wheel deliberations of emotional associations relative to rational associations relative to your natural aspirations. Know thyself. Children of the intercourse of energy and mass, we range between delight and despair as we pass through the quotidian trials and occasional celebrations of our planetary rounds. But further, if aspects of your chemistry and your education agree with your religious instinct, and you find yourself with the aim to know yourself, recognize the wonder, but exercising caution, steer clear of mysticalism and spiritualism. Feel your way to what your nature thinks, and think your way to what your nature feels. In your search for natural information, be wary of emotion alone or intellect alone. The history of human aspiration is compelling, but it's probable that its fantasies and its institutionalization have done as much harm as good compared to the natural processes it displaced. The kingdom is within, a solemn augur, indicating that for humans, no matter the exigencies of their without lives, parasympathetic pineal information digestion processes conduct the life of the kingdom within. The occasional experience of the ineffable energy of self-recognition, a moment of self-recognition, whether from an idea or a premonition, charges the kingdom. These self-recognition moments largely go by unremarked, but when understood and intentionally cultivated, moments are the key to the cyvolutionary reconciliation of our disparately internecine information processors. Just as in their time, the biological species Plantae and Animalia normalized their ecologies, in our time, the latent potential of the pre-Homo sapiens psychic organs of intention and attention are in the breach. But naive, having evolved without right information, the energy of the without's desire cannot catalyze the intentional desire of the evolutionary within. Only moments open the way. Psi-evolutionary processes, nevertheless, are simple matter. Intentionally extend natural digestion processes to the digestion of the energy from the waste matter of daydreams. It requires the development of a cogent intention and a coherent attention. The least examination of the state of your intention relative to the state of your attention. Oh, no, you might as well be in a madhouse. The intention to experience the blending of the energy digested from the madhouse initiates the within system capable of recognizing and processing the ineffable to the without vibrational frequencies of our religious instinct. The psi-evolution of a coherent attention field relative to the point intention to experience the breath as breath, intentionally permeated by the vibrations of intention, naturally blends with the blood to vivify every cell. This process is the natural distribution system conducting the experience of psi-evolution. Separate the subtle from the gross, gently with unremitting care, advises the Emerald Tablet of Hermes Trismegistus. A solar mandate enzymatically separates psychology from ethology. That is, psi-evolve the three-brain survival response of conscientious reason from your one-brain reptilian and two-brain mammalian survival reactions. The biological digestion of energy from phenomena reached criticality through the evolution of caringness and thoughtfulness, and charges the psi-evolutionary process of self-examination. Under the pressure of the concomitant evolution of the neocortical properties of intention and attention, these psi-evolutionary properties normalized the criticality. Cogent, coherent vibration rates then are the stem substances through which the psi-evolutionary reification of the comity of impartial conscience and the polity of objective reason become the source of governance. Moments. Our animal nature does not self-examine, but the micro-processes of neocortical properties, our properties, receive self-signals from the solar biological processes that propagate the ergodic fulfillment dynamics of the macro process of which it is a part. These moments, when understood, initiate the experience of our religious instinct and the process of self-examination. Self-examination, leading to the self-digestion, refines the energy wasted by our reptilian mammalian instincts and augments the transfer of energy to the innervation of the reblending properties of conscience and reason. When sufficiently psi-evolved, the experience of reblending energy by the frontal cortex alerts the cerebellum and enlists the limbic dynamo to assist the blending of the energy with the ontogenetic history of sacral reproduction energies and innervates the solar plexus expressions of cogent, coherent information processing. Some might call it creativity. Animals, our animal chemistries will persist. But their voice, experienced now by an attentive medium, is taken as a source of moments, the recognition, a moment of recognition, and the intentional ignition of the circuitry of the fulfillment dynamics of the ergodic armature. These processes are recondite. And to engage these processes from a sense of right information requires schooling, requires a work with others pursuing this similar processes, and brings about the proposition of a college of humanology. The chemical persistence of reptilian ego and mammalian ego diabolically and deceptively will insist that their voice is the voice of your earnestness. The laws of civiliation are more rigorous than the probabilities of evolution. Therefore, falsifiable and repeatable experiments classified through population statistics are nigh compulsory. The science of humanology begins with establishing that I am where my attention is. I'm sitting here, but my attention might be in the refrigerator, or for that matter, on the moon. Perhaps it's in my emotions. Or my sensations, or in solving a problem, or whatever interest happens to be firing my synapses. The transpiration of our hypnotic experience goes on, and by stochastic probabilities, so do naturally occurring signals from the instinct of my cyvolutionary or religious nature. In summation, 1,000,000 rotations, 50K, 10K, the speciation properties of information processing produce the question, what is the meaning of life? And coalescing information at the behest of our intrinsic instinct has clarified our condition. From circle dances to cyclotrons, the normalization of our speculative endeavors were focused by Renaissance humanism, enlightenment, and modern deconstructivism until, with nothing to hide, we stand gloriously naked. We are biological cannibals, refining energy from light, atmosphere, and minerals. And while the energy of our experience of information refinement pays the mortgage, the waste is deposited in civilizations. And we will carry on. Civilizations will carry on. The built hardware exists, our laws, our arts, the morals. Only the software is under examination. So out from behind the 8 ball, so to speak, the bright cabal would not ask the population of the earth what they believe or tell them what to believe. Adopting a 100 or 2-year project, employing all available communications, literature, movies, songs, college degrees, revision of the lyrics of the Christmas carols, and without prejudice, gently continue to filter in more and more information that agrees with natural processes. So thank you. And so are there any kinds of questions, any comments? What we've seen, we've heard what the aim is, and we've heard what the problems and getting to that aim are. What can we say to each other?
Thank you, Terry. There is a lot of applause,
Oh,
both on the chat and with our panelists. And I'll have Maria unmute, but I mean, most comments in the chat were supporting how your proposal brings hope in these very difficult times, and that the intellectual and spiritual delight is in fact the function of the transdisciplinarity movement. One question from Adriana in Sao Paulo, part of C-Trans, she asked, what are we experiencing in our existence and experience at this time that could bring about a more refined transformation of our being? I suppose she's referring to, for instance, say the pandemic or the crises.
well, what it seems like is necessary is that, and I call it a 100-year project. It might be a 500-year project, but we have to, so to speak, turn around. Now, the problem is that, please excuse me, I'll just be blunt. Catholics believe one lie. Islamists believe in their lie, and Buddhists live their life. You see, the great traditions are all have presented us with a story that's that intuitively is true, but the way it's been interpreted, it's caused major difficulties throughout the centuries. So here we sit, and with your question, what could, so there's no quick fix. We have to begin this project of the psyvolution of our psychic properties, the separation of our psychology from our ethology. Because the ethology has this fierceness, and both in reptiles and mammals. So how to bring their instincts into sync with what we need to accomplish your question.
Well, I know Maria has prepared a few questions, and if she would unmute her mic, we might proceed with her response. And so I turn this over to you, Maria.
Well, Linda, let's see if I will be able to put it in words some impressions I received from your talk, which are now reverberating in me. The time here of your talk is very short for us to listen to all you have to say. But
Yes.
I will be very brief in my comments. There are 3 points I would like to address. The first one is the thinking framework you presented is very complex,
Yes.
dynamic, multidimensional, and multi-referential. What makes it genuinely transdisciplinary? You mentioned experience of experience, the energy of refinement of organs, and the dynamics of self-knowledge and care. As it relates to language, your use of it is concise, dense, intricate, even cryptographic in some cases. You coined words such as evolution, entropy, and presented notions of entropy equals entropy, and encapsulate a lot of meaning in words that might not reach the inattentive listener or reader.
I guarantee it.
Example, in some of your charts, you use the word armature instead of structure, a term to indicate the transformation of electrical energy in mechanical energy.
Exactly.
Oh my God. I tell you, in your talk and text, it's never to be encountered the emptiness of words, so common in the sloppy use of speech and writing nowadays. Now, as it relates to your art, you bring to scene a poetic thinking, not a calculative thinking. You articulate artistic expression, science, and ontology of highest expression. You demand a lot from the person that listens to you, I must say.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
yeah. And cultivation of being transpires in each point of your message. But I have some questions for you.
Yes, thank you.
I have very few questions, and I grouped my questions in these 3 parts: your thinking framework, your uses of language, and then your art. In the light of your thinking framework, I wonder, what are the cognitive resistance you encounter in the effort of bringing this thinking to practice in individual evolution process? And also, can it be operative in collective experience as we face now in COVID-19 pandemic? This is one thing. In relation to language, I would like to listen a little bit more of how do you equate language and being as an emergent, shining experience of all experiences. And what is the role of technology in this respect, if there is a role of technology in this respect? And in regarding to your art, in what extension may creative art processes and work of art be eminent practice of moments, because you mentioned practice of moments,
Yes.
and also experience in transformation, transpiration, or transpoesis, not only to the artists, but also to those that access this art. And then I have a postscriptum about religion, and I will add it here, and then the word is all
Well,
yours.
Maria, would it be okay if Terry answers first those 3 questions, and then
Okay, fine.
that's a lot.
It's a lot, right? That way. I'm not sure, listening to all 3 of them, that I got to separate them out sufficiently. But I don't know where my language exactly comes from, but I sort of approach it as an architect. I don't follow grammar necessarily. I get beat up plenty for that. But I sort of create from the background of art and science, because I've really spent, at least 40 years with the lay studies of physics and thermodynamics and of Penrose and just I've been I've met with Harold Morowitz and Stuart Kaufman and Lynn Margulis and Basarab, and we've, so we developed, I've developed a kind of, I call it scientistic poetics. It's not poetry, it isn't science. And of course, we have to begin to understand, I believe, that technology has, the scientific method and technology have clarified what the solar system, how it works, what we're doing, and that no matter where we send a spaceship, we find the same laws. So we have to thank them. But now this idea of impartial conscience and objective reason has to begin to regulate technology and regulate capitalism and regulate socialism, so that there begins to be an agreement, perhaps, and there can be something that spreads into the global community, because all these religions were invented when there was no global community, so to speak. So I hope that addresses some of what you were speaking about.
Do you want to bring your postscript now, Maria?
I think this postscript, Micah, this postscript has to do with religion. Your talk transpires religion as religare in many points. To me, religion as religare encompasses religion as religare encompasses world and being in the world, taken in its ontic and ontological realm. And the most sacred experience in the process of unconcealing what is being a human being, we get to a point where it seems that just being is, and to immerse in this experience of being as beauty, perfection, and freedom. And you, as you already posited, religious is an alchemical path where flux and flow and a continuous refinement of energy takes place. It has nothing to do with this experience with being part of a religion as an institution.
Correct. Yes. So,
and my question is very simple: is this, besides in relation to religion, this type of religion I mentioned, religion as religare, besides intention, attention, presence, practice, do you include in your understanding of religion also an effortless openness of having the ultimate experience of religion just by grace, blessing, and despite of ourselves? And
yes. I believe, we'll see if you, but you're addressing what we call moments. You see, the mystery of these moments is that they present us with an ineffable experience of opening to something, and we can process that mostly not much at all, but it does produce something in us that excites our religious instinct, or I agree very much and use the word religarant a lot. I'm glad to hear it. Religio, the tie back, you see, so it's religion is the return of energy to the source of the energy, which is an entropic process dealing with the entropy of existence. So that's religion. Now, we've made a mishmash of it in all kinds of ways, but it just is it begins with it's the cultivation of these moments, of this experience that you're talking about. So it's the daily, it's cultivation, it's the hourly. I mean, we have to develop an inner coherent vibrational medium, which we call attention. The intentional attention is what can process these moments. So, but we don't have that. We have feckless intention and desultory attention. And we're carrying out nature's intention, but we have the onus of having our an attention that agrees with nature's intention. Okay.